Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is December 23rd, 2020, and this is episode 162. We're going to take a look at Sea of Sorrows. This is issue number 2 in this series. It's an IDW book for $3.99, and I want to say that I don't know if this book's for everybody, but I am loving it. The art in it is very stark and dark and eerie. Gives you that whole creepiness. It's about a group of treasure seekers in the late 20s going down to the bottom of the sea, or partially bottom of the sea, to raid a submarine that has sunk full of gold during towards the end of World War One. And the crew is kind of this oddball group, and I'm seeing a little bit of a 10 Little Indians type theme where they seem to start getting picked off one by one. There's more than 10 Indians on this ship, though. So let's get into it real quick. Let's take a look at the credits real fast. The writer is Rich Dueck. The artist is Alex Cormack, and I just want to say he's doing a great job on this. I mean, the eeriness of the panels of this is just fantastic. Like I said, I don't know if this will be for everybody because it isn't typically a superheroes type comic, but it is very good story. Now, Nick, who's our main character, he's a deep sea diver, and he's got a history from war. He suffers from nightmares from World War One, and here he's experienced one where you can see he's waking up. He thinks he's being waken up by all these dead corpses, and his arms are all around him, grabbing him. But just one of the other crew members trying to wake him up. But just as fantastic. That is that is fantastic art, in my opinion. I think this is a great book. It is obviously a recommend. So he finally gets woken up, and you can see the way that they use the shadows and negative space here. It's just wonderful. Just the eeriness of this ship, the claustrophobicness of it all. And of course, when we do get outside, the storm it's the North Atlantic, and it's always kind of stormy and wavy. Sonia is the one woman on here, this ship, and it turns out she has some knowledge of this whole wreck and what goes on. There's another group of a band here. This one guy here, I'm trying to think what his name is. I believe it's Deke. And Nick's our main guy, and Mark is that's actually Mark there. He's runs the salvage boat, the deep sea diving crew that's on there. And there's 3 deep sea divers. I should mention that too. So they're going back down. They're trying to explain to I think his name's Jim. They're trying to explain to Jim why they can't just go down and get the gold out of the ship, and the submarine is actually perched on a ledge, and if they move the cargo too much, it'll drift down even further, and they would not be able to reach it in their deep sea diving gear. So he's just kind of this guy. He's kind of a jerk through the whole thing. So we get these nice panels where you really have to examine them closely. He's got sharks. He's got one of those really deep sea fish with the big fangy claws. And you see the submarine in the background. So you need to explore these panels just because they're drawn so darkly, but they're interesting. It's worth the exploration, in my opinion, to go into this. So they send the crew down once again, the 3 divers, and they have 2 lights with them. And you can see the sharks are always kind of circling here, but apparently not always attacking. Sometimes they kind of, in the first issue, they jumped out and scared them a few times, but as they leave the diving bell, I guess it is, in their suits to go explore the wreck, almost instantaneously as they move away towards the wreck, suddenly something comes by and we get this blood smear or whatever you want to call it, blood distribution in the water there, and one of the divers is gone. They end up, like, the light is up in the air or up in the water. They end up catching it, and they find the shredded hose. So they don't even get into the ship, and they've already gotten attacked by something. And so back up on the ship, they're showing Jim, he's kind of the jerky guy here. Look what happened, and they say, "Oh, it's just a shark. You know, you guys should go back down." And the guys, some of them want to go back and get a bigger ship with more crew and equipment. And of course, Jim does not want to because he doesn't. He wants more of the share of the gold for himself. And he's got a bunch of buddies with him. I guess they're just crew members of the ship helping out. So the story moves on, and it's down to Nick and Anders, the two divers left, and Mark, who kind of runs the diving crew, is telling them, "No, don't go down. You guys don't have to do this. You know, it's almost certain death." And they're just saying, "Well, that's what we signed on for. You know, this is, you know, I'm already having nightmares. This can't be any worse than that." And Jim continues to give everybody a little bit of a hard time. The one guy here, he is the German, and I believe he has a lot of the knowledge of the wreck, and Sonia was the one that introduced the German to these people to take the ship out and find the wreck. And I believe he might have been like the sole survivor of this submarine as it was going down. So the plan is they go back down. It's just Anders and Nick, and you can see this eeriness of this, and your eyes are just trying to focus on the dark. It's it's crushing. You can feel the pressure. It's just awesome. So they have brought like an inflatable balloon with them, and their whole idea is not to lift the wreck, but just to stabilize it so that it will not fall down any further into the ravine while they are working on removing the cargo. So they get that successfully inflated, and in the meantime, up on the ship, Jim makes a pass at Sonia here, and she turns him down. It turns out she's into women, which seems to be a fairly common comic trope these days. There's if a lesbian's looking for women, she just needs to go to a comic book. It seems like it. So anyway, not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying. The percentages are way up. Okay, so the frustrated Jim, the jerk, is out on the deck here, and he starts hearing the song, the siren song, and he looks into the water and he sees this beautiful creature, this mermaid, but she's really a siren and she's really a monster, but he doesn't know any better. But he's spellbound by her and starts going over to jump into the sea after her. They have to knock him cold to keep him from going over. And all this time, there's just the waves are bashing against the ship and everything, and you're looking at these pictures trying to see what he's seeing, what he's diving for. You don't really see anything. So it just goes on that they had to knock the guy out, and his buddies are all ticked off about it, as you can see here. So they give him some booze just to settle him down, and they're singing and whatnot. One of them wanders out onto the deck, and then the siren song takes him, and he takes one last grasp as he gets sucked out into the ocean. And that's the end of this part 2 on this. So I'm not sure how many issues we're going to see of this, but I'm really loving it. Look at that art. It's just fantastic. Nice. Okay, here's the cover for the next issue, Sea of Sorrows. And it's really hard to depict. Like I said, you really have to kind of study these, which is kind of fun in a way. There's your submarine there. There's one of the divers. And then if you have to look really closely, you can see a pair of arms coming out of this bubble. And then if you look more closely, you can see a tail coming off. And I believe that is the siren that is taking the ship down, or trying to take down this crew upstairs. So we'll see what happens in the next one. But I'm liking it. Then Alex Cormack gets a nice mention here. This is just the same cover that we saw here. And I guess this is a variant cover. I didn't see this at the store. And the art's by Matthew Dow Smith. And it shows the siren embracing one of the deep sea divers, and she's actually wrapped around him too. And I believe that's it And we get one last piece of art back here. And the ship up above and a shark down below. Just kind of this nice eerie piece. So it is a recommend. I'll be following this all the way through, I believe, at this point. I'm really enjoying it. I think we lost 2 crew members in this book. I can't remember if we lost anybody in the first book or not. But I will continue to give you updates of the crew as they seek their fortune in sunken treasure aboard a German submarine. So thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please like, please subscribe, please leave comments. Yesterday I put a video out on King in Black, and it went through the roof, at least in my numbers, for what I'm used to seeing. So if you saw that, thanks for tuning in on that. I'm sure this one won't reach near the numbers because it's more of an obscure title. King in Black is Marvel's latest run. But we'll see you next time at the Temple of Tomes. This is Indie Comics Jones bidding you adieu.